Wine Club. I'm Stephanie, and this is the playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender is Yinka, Where Is Your Husband by Lizzie Damilola Blackburn. And as I say in all my reviews, this is solely about the book, not about the author as a person, and there are going to be spoilers in this review. If you want the spoiler-free version of this review, please check out my What I Read in February 2024 video. But let's go ahead and see what the book promised. Yinka's Nigerian aunties frequently pray for her delivery from singledom. Her work friends think she's too traditional. She's saving herself for marriage. Her girlfriends think she needs to get over her ex already. And the men in her life, well, that's a whole other story. But Yinka herself has always believed that true love will find her when the time is right. Still, when her cousin Rachel gets engaged, Yinka commences Operation Wedding Date. Aided by a spreadsheet and her best friend, Yinka is determined to succeed. Will Yinka find herself a husband? And what if the thing she really needs to find is herself? Yinka, Where Is Your Husband? Brilliantly subverts the traditional romantic comedy with an unconventional heroine who bravely asks the questions we all have about love. Wry, acerbic, moving, this is a love story that makes you smile, but also makes you think, and explores what it means to find your way between two cultures, both of which are yours. So I got this as an add-on to my Book of the Month box. I want to say it was my August box. This has been sitting on my to-be-read shelf for a while. And based on that description, I was expecting a fun, finding myself type story, as this is billed as contemporary fiction. But looking at Goodreads, this is also billed as a romance, and it really isn't. Like, there are romance elements in this, but it's really more about like character embracing the real her and being proud of it. So if you're thinking of picking this book up and expecting a romance, this ain't it. This is more what I expected from my worst read of 2023, which was really good, actually. This is about self-acceptance and learning to be confident in who you are. But the whole exploring her life and figuring out who she is, it's not done super well. Or at least it's not done by Yinka, our main girl, very well. I started out liking Yinka, but she quickly got on my nerves. This woman is 31, but acts like those numbers were transposed on her driver's license because she's a teenager. She's literally Googling how to tell if a guy likes you and tee-hee-heeing her way through her conversations with men. Like, I half expected her to get her first period while I was reading this. She comes across as kind of an immature and naive woman, but then she's also kind of in control and terrible to the people that she supposedly loves. So the story kicks off at her younger sister, Kemi, her baby shower, and at the shower, her mom and aunties embarrass her by praying that she'll finally find a husband. And the thing is, Yinka doesn't seem to mind that she's single. She seems to be of the mind that, like, things happen in their own time. Cool, I get that. I was on board with that message because I've gone through it myself. I didn't get married until well after my other friends did, but I didn't care because I wasn't just going to settle down with any old schmuck. Like, it was worth it to spend that time to find the right man for me. I didn't get married until I was in my 30s. And Yinka kind of seemed to be of the same mind. But then she finds out that her cousin Rachel is engaged and getting married in 6 months. 6 months? I mean, that alone, I was like, somebody have a secret that they need to get off their chest here? Because 6 months is really fast to plan a wedding. Anyway, Rachel has her bridesmaids who are basically her cousins. So it's Yinka, their other cousin Ola, and then I think even their friend Nana might be a bridesmaid. Whatever. Anyway, Rachel asks them to set bridesmaids goals. Is this a thing? Is this a thing that people do? Like, if one of my friends was getting married and asked me to set a bridesmaid goal, I'd probably just laugh. Like, what the hell is that? Like, I want to fit in my dress. I want to have fun. I want you to get married somewhere nice. Like, what's a bridesmaid goal? I mean, we need it to kickstart the plot, but because the plot says so is not the strongest way to start off your book and give our character her motivation to go through her arc. Anywho, our girl Yinka decides that she wants to bring a boyfriend to Rachel's wedding. Oh, she also bumped into her ex-boyfriend who is now engaged, so that adds fuel to the fire. But it also kind of doesn't, because I don't really know who the ex is or their relationship. Like, we know he was important to her, but we never really go into it. And I don't care how this motivates our main girl. So, short of it, Yinka needs a man. And apparently our 31-year-old protagonist is clueless on how to meet or even frankly converse with the opposite sex. She makes all these lists with like milestones and KPIs on how to get a boyfriend. And it was kind of sad. Like, she even writes questions to ask her dates on Post-it notes. Like, girl, have you ever just had a conversation with a human being before? Yikes. And really, she just goes from like a 0 to 100 trying to get a guy, when it seemed like at the beginning she wasn't that bothered by being single. But suddenly it's a huge problem that needs fixing. And so she's going to get a man, even if that means lying to him to trap him. So her Auntie Debbie wants to introduce Yinka to a nice young man that she knows named Alex, who goes to Yinka's mother's church. She meets him, and all we know about him is that he's hot. Alex is hot. It's important that we know that he's hot, even though he has the personality of wilted lettuce. He is very into his Nigerian heritage, which great for him. But Yinka, not so much. She is a British Nigerian woman and definitely leans more towards the British side. Like, she still goes to church, she still has her beliefs, she's still tied to her culture, but definitely more British, whereas Alex is, I am Mr. Nigeria. Like, he makes fun of her for her Britishisms and just mocks her constantly. And instead of realizing, like, wow, this guy kind of sucks, she doubles down on changing herself for him. Like, she's going to learn Yoruba, which I truly apologize if I've mispronounced that language. She's going to learn how to cook Nigerian food. She's going to become Miss Nigeria to win this guy over. Why? Like, what does she actually like about him? I really want to know. I'm never given a reason besides he's hot and Nigerian and her mom basically faints at the idea of them getting together. So, of course, things don't work out because Yinka is a mess. And I don't blame Alex for not wanting to get with her. And then she pretty much scrolls through her phone looking for guys she can manipulate into dating her. And ignoring her friends while doing it. Like, seriously, there is a scene where her sister, who has given birth to her child, is trying to talk to Yinka about her struggles with being a new mom and needing Yinka's support and her words of encouragement. And Yinka is scrolling through Tinder and not even paying attention. She even makes a note of saying that she hopes she's making like the right sounds at the right time. Kemi should have hung up on your ass. So back to Yinka's men, there's also this character named Derek in the book, who we know has a crush on Yinka. He told her about his feelings, and like she had just broken up, or been broken up with, by her ex-boyfriend, so wasn't the right time, but we know he still really likes her. He seems really sweet. He's kind. He's polite. He volunteers and actively seems to enjoy doing that instead of like being told he has to do it. But Yinka doesn't want to date him. And it mostly comes across that she doesn't want to date him because like he has a bald spot and maybe some like gaps in his teeth. I mean, he's British, isn't he? Which is fair. She doesn't have to be attracted to him. It's okay that if she doesn't like him, she doesn't like him. But then at the end of the book, she decides to tell him that she likes him all of a sudden, which I don't think she really does. I think she just needs a man, and then he tells her like, oh, I've actually met somebody and I'm pretty happy. And then she just falls into this bout of depression, like, you didn't even like him. Why are we doing this? And whenever she does go on a date with a guy, she is immediately questioning, why hasn't he complimented me yet? Why hasn't he asked me to be his girlfriend? Why is he mad that I've called him 15 times in a row? Like, girl, listen to Taylor Swift. You need to calm down. You do not need validation from a man, or any other person for that matter. Have some self-respect and stop acting like a lunatic. She just comes across as so desperate. And it's kind of tragic, but it's also infuriating because this is all driven from her own actions. Why are you acting like this? I also have to say, I was quite confused by the end because she has her major epiphany, but she's right back where she started. She realizes she needs to love herself and enjoy her season of singleness and that things will work in its own time. Yes, and? Didn't you already know this? Wasn't this how you started the book, by not being that ashamed of your singleness that your family continues to make fun of you for? So the growth that Yinka goes through is just very superficial, and it happens really quickly. I also have to say, I'm not really sure that I know Yinka as a character. She's written as this like super quirky girl, but we never get really deep with her. And I'm sure that I wouldn't really be able to describe her personality or what she likes doing or why she does the things that she does. We're in her head the entire book, but I don't know her. My perception of her is that she's an immature, self-centered, and obsessive brat. And there was just so much room for potential here too. Like, we find out that Yinka is saving herself from marriage. She's a virgin. Cool, girl. You do you. And she doesn't make her friends feel bad about their sex lives. Cool. Let them do them. But nothing really comes of it. It's kind of just dropped in there and then we move on. And honestly, that's how a lot of stuff happens in this book. It's just there. It wants to be explored, but Dammy Lola Blackburn doesn't commit to talking about it. I did get some shopaholic vibes from this, like some of Yinka's quirky traits, her Britishisms, and even some of her reasons for like lying to her friends and family. But Becky in Shopaholic learns from her mistakes and makes amends for them. Yinka seems to think that she can just be terrible and lie to everyone and that they should apologize to her. It honestly didn't have the same like heart and character growth. And I also felt that the ending was a bit rushed, and it works really, really hard to wrap up everything with a bow. I kid you not, the book ends with the "and everyone clapped." Like, she says a prayer for herself, and then her friends literally clap for her. Ugh. But before that, Yinka goes like off the deep end, and her best friend Nana basically tells her that she has to go to therapy or Nana will move out of their house. She stages an intervention for Yinka, which Yinka did need a good friend to hand her ass to her. But like I said earlier, it felt really superficial and so quick. Like, the way Nana talks about how much Yinka has changed makes it sound like she has started doing drugs all day long, is stealing from people, and has completely given up her morals. Yinka isn't doing great, but it's also been like a few weeks or maybe a few months at the most. It felt really dramatic. Yinka lies about going to therapy, but eventually does go. She isn't happy about it, because she thinks that she doesn't need therapy. But then after like one session, she is telling everyone and their mom that they need to go and that their lives will be fixed after one session because everything in her life is a-okay again. I also have to say there are a lot of characters in this, and I kind of only like two of them. Like, we've got Yinka's sister Kemi, and by extension her husband Uche is pretty cool, and Yinka's auntie Blessing. Can I read a book about her life, please? Like, she seems cool and confident and actually seems to love her life and who she is. She's very proud of herself, as she should be. She kicks ass. I also have to say, I didn't really like the writing style in this, and it felt very paint by numbers. I could recognize every single beat of this book, and the stuff connecting those major plot moments were kind of weak. Things happen because they need to, and so in essence, they felt kind of forced and rushed. So when I first started reading this, I thought it was going to be a solid 3.5-star read. After the end, this is a 2.5 to maybe 3-star read if I'm being generous. The idea for this is so good. The message is so good. It's just the execution isn't as good as I was expecting it to be. I did see a reviewer on Goodreads named Nadine, and she summed it up really well by saying, ultimately, it ended up feeling like the author didn't have anything of substance to say with the story, even though it felt like she wanted to. In the end, this was just kind of boring and aggravating watching Yinka make all these horrendous decisions and then be affronted when people call her out on her bad behavior. It just really fell flat for me, and there were times when it was just honestly kind of cringy to read. I didn't hate this, but I'm like a mom. I'm disappointed in this. So tell me, what books would you recommend that fit this theme of finding yourself with like a competent and not lunatic protagonist? I would love to hear your suggestions, and please feel free to leave a comment below to let me know of your recommendations. Otherwise, I will see you next time on Wine Club.